Hello, wherever you are in the world today. Welcome to Beyond the Art and our series, The Stories That Carry Us. I'm your host, Craig Beaumont Flynn, a citizen of the Cherokee Nation and the Delaware Tribe of Indians. In each episode, we will discuss with various Native American artists, influencers, art leaders, and everyone in between their experiences, the communities they serve, and the translation and interpretation of the Native American art world today. Well, welcome to Beyond the Art today. We have three Cherokee women clay artists, Jane Osti, Karin Walkingstick, and Tama Roberts. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. Well, why don't we just start off and give us a little personal background about your cultural heritage and how you got started in the artistic endeavors. And Jane, why don't you start?
Okay. I'm Cherokee, and I've been making pottery for a long time. I started with Annabelle Six-Killer Mitchell. She's my teacher, mentor, and friend. And I've been teaching a lot and doing markets all over the country ever since I started. And one of the things that I like is teaching. And Karin is one of my students, or was one of my students over 10 years ago. And she has been very successful. And we've been doing Santa Fe Indian Market. Well, she's been doing it ever since she started. I've been doing it 30 years, and I retired from that show this year. And one of the best things about teaching is to see an artist like Karin succeed.
Mm-hmm. So you graduated.
She graduated a long time ago. And she's just taken off and doing wonderful work.
Thank you.
And Karin, tell us a little bit about your personal background and why you became an artist.
I had a friend call me and ask if I wanted to take a class with Jane Osti. And she was given a pottery class, and we all got together. And, there's a group of probably 8 of us that were all just going to have fun and took this class and met Jane, and I really liked Jane. And I wanted to, by the end of the class, I wanted to know how I could do more of it. And she was giving a series of classes at the time, which was perfect. And I just kind of took a couple other classes. And then as we kind of got to know each other and started working more together, she asked me if I would, want to work as an apprentice with her. So I did for about 8 months, and she kicked me out of the nest.
You got the stamp of approval.
Yeah.
Go forward.
Kicked her out of the nest, and she cried.
I did. I'm not ashamed to say it. Yeah. I cried, made her feel guilty, and she kept me.
Tama, how about you? Give us a little bit about your background and why you became an artist.
Well, I still have that new artist smell, I guess, if you will. I've only been doing it professionally for about 10 years. I started 6 years ago with Bill Glass Jr. The Cherokee Nation has the Cherokee National Treasure Mentorship Program. And I asked his wife, Connie, if he had any spaces. And she's like, well, we'll see. And then about 30 minutes later, it was at Cherokee Art Market. Bill came over. And you have to know Bill, he's just an amazing person. Right. But he was like, "Shaw, you want to take my class?" And I said, "I would love to." And so he kept looking at my artwork that was in the booth, and he said, "Be at my house Sunday." And I said, "Okay." So that's how it started. It was about 6 years ago. So, and then I've also worked with Troy Jackson, and so it's really kind of taken off. I was doing it part-time, and then I got a work divorce. And, sometimes life kicks us in the fanny, and it was either sink or swim. So then I really had to put everything into it.
Got a new path and go forward. Absolutely.
And through that heartbreak came, the best path of my life, I think, besides being a mom. This has been amazing. And I'm hoping to take a class from Jane one of these days, if she'll teach me.
Are you still doing classes? Are you still teaching?
I haven't done much since COVID. Done just a few special workshops a tribal youth council and 7-star camp this summer, but I haven't really taught a class.
Well, I think you have a new student.
I would love
And you have one that wants to come back, obviously.
we could always learn.
So since the three of you have been doing your craft, the amount of years that you've actually put into it, have you seen the rise of Native American women partaking and being more and more involved?
I believe so, but I believe we were always involved. Maybe we are getting more recognition than women used to get. But I think, especially in the clay, there's always been as many women involved, I believe, as men.
Have you seen the growth of Native American arts escalate in the last couple of years? More and more people becoming more, I guess, collectors and becoming more of a focal point instead of just being something that's a craft, but it's actually an art form.
When I first started, you couldn't sell pottery in Oklahoma.
Really?
I had to travel all over the country, and especially the Southwest. There was no pottery market in Oklahoma to speak of. And now, with Cherokee Art Market, I think we do pretty well. And we have collectors there. Where when I first started, it was just almost no pottery sales in Oklahoma.
Wow. And what year they're on their 17th year, 18th year?
Yeah, I think
coming
so.
up.
Yeah. I think my first Oklahoma big market was Red Earth in 1990, and there was a little bit of sales, but I had to travel the country really to make a living.
That's a lot of work to put into that.
Yeah, but you get trip stories. I love trip stories.
We got a road
Do you travel as a pack?
We do. We do. When we went to Santa Fe this year, we all stayed together.
Three cars.
Yeah.
So what inspires each of you and motivates you? We'll start with you, Tama.
Okay. Well, it really, like creatively or intrinsically, it's mainly, I think it's, from being in the commercial sector from my previous occupation in kind of holding back all that creativity. Now it's kind of flooding forward. So it's usually emotionally driven. If, I'm upset or it just comes through. And that's usually how it starts. And then right before I fall asleep, when your brain is kind of in that state.
Yes.
That's when I'll start to get my ideas, or I'll see things in my mind, or as you know, I'm driving down the road and something will hit me, and that's usually how it starts. My inspiration, or a lot of it comes from this. She's a scientist that I actually follow. Her name's Neri Oxman, and she's really big into the biological sciences, and when you look at things at a cellular level and the geometry. That how things are created, that's really where I'll get a lot of my designs is from nature, but at a cellular level. And so that's usually where it starts, is something I'll see a line, or I'll see a shape, and then it will kind of translate into not only the shape of the pot, but the environment in which the piece will be going in. It doesn't necessarily have to be a pot. It can be a 3D sculpture, and the space that creates as well. So, and then I want to pay my electric bill.
And you want to eat.
I want to eat. I like food.
So how do you incorporate the cultural heritage component into your craft?
Well, the last few years, and being around Bill and Demas, his son Demas, learning about the few designs that we have left from Spyro and different areas, there's not a lot left.
Right.
And so it's funny because I would see those, and in my mind, I was like, this first time I looked at the book, I'd say about 10 years ago, I had seen those designs before, and I couldn't tell you where. And I had always drawn them as a child. And so learning those, it just intrinsically comes through. I can't say that I'll start with that design in mind, because a lot of times I don't. I won't even sketch. All of a sudden I'll start seeing you get in that zone, and you'll start working and carving. And then 3 hours later you go, oh, I have a design. And so it just comes through. I can't tell you where it comes from, and I'll call Karen and I'll say, look. She's like, I'm like, what do you see? And she'll say, well, I see this bird or whatever. And then before I know it, it's that design coming through.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What are you drinking at night?
Diet Dr. Thunder.
And you too, what inspires and motivates you in your craft? And do you take a lot of inspiration from cultural items, or are you kind of reinterpreting to today's culture?
From the first time I saw our Southeast designs, I have been in love with them. And they're always the foundation of my work. They're not always exactly like those.
Mm-hmm.
They move around. And especially seeing Anna's early work, I fell in love with her work. And for years, I did anything that was Southeast. And about 20 years ago, we got more information on what is Cherokee. So I've been focusing on that the last several years. And I don't make replicas, and I don't always do the designs the same way, but it is important to me to continue the Southeastern tradition and continue the Cherokee way of making pottery.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I make figures, they will have designs on them that comes from our old art. And when I first started, though, we didn't know the difference. Just anything Southeast was fair game.
Right.
But with the internet and introduction of more books that had more Cherokee things, we're able to focus more on what is ours or what was ours. Right. And anyway, I get inspiration from just books, people, and early morning hours when I'm drinking coffee. And when it's quiet, nobody's talking to you, and maybe not even thinking about you.
Right.
Yeah, you can get a little clear channel there. So,
Karin, what's your process, your artistic process in creating?
I'm the opposite. I am a late nighter. I'll be working at 2 or 3 in the morning.
I'm getting up then.
Yeah, we'd pass. I don't sketch anything. I just start. I think it's important to every day, even if you're not, even if you don't have a real good idea, just sit down and do something.
Mm-hmm.
Make some sort of progress and just keep working. And so I don't sketch anything out. I'll start building it, and I generally make what's on my mind, whatever I'm thinking about. There was a pot that I had made not long ago that had it was magnolias, and I built a new studio, and I have a magnolia tree, and it was too close to the studio, and I was thinking about that and thinking about it, and I was going to lose that tree. It's the first thing that blooms in the spring, and it smells so good, and so I built a pot with the magnolias on it, and I could feed back from that one. I really liked it. It's kind of striking. So I just mostly build what's on my mind, but yeah, a lot of the old designs, Southeastern designs, I like to take something and add a little something to it, or make it not what it was originally, but add to somehow, or some variation of it. And yeah, that's kind of how it happens for me. It's just, I'll just kind of go with it, whatever I have on my mind.
Do you three collaborate at any time? Or have you talked about collaborating?
We've threatened to.
I think collaboration is important. I would be honored to collaborate with them. I've done with Bill and Demas before, and it's just an explosion of ideas when you get everybody in the same room.
Correct. I think you learn something too, and you see a different perspective, since art is always interpretative of who's creating and who views it. You see two different things, so having that collaboration, I think, helps, and it actually helps further expand, I think, the audience too, when you have artists that collaborate. How do you incorporate your Native American heritage into your artwork? Or is there any message or narratives that you're trying to relay, or is it a Jane Osti piece, a Karin Walkingstick piece, and a Tama Roberts piece that stands alone by itself? Who wants to go first? Jane, why don't you go?
I recently had a pot curated, and I had in mind the missing, murdered women and red hens all around. So once in a while, get socially, politically thinking about some things when I'm working, but not often. But once in a while, something that really strikes me, I will take some notes from that.
Incorporate into your piece.
I've done the same. I had some issues with a family member, and I was really upset about it, and it involved the pharmaceutical industry. So I made a piece called The Jagged Little Pill, and it meant a lot to me because I was kind of giving the bird to, pharmaceutical companies and how they control our lives, and it, that's a good way to express and to come through. I really believe that that's what we are tasked to do. A message.
Yeah. Do any of you do commission work?
Yes,
A lot.
A lot?
I don't do as much as Jane and Karin, hoping one day, takes time.
I have a commission right now for the McClung Museum in Knoxville to create a piece. The show will be in January 24th.
Now, is that being derived from your own inspiration in your own direction, or are you actually given a parameters of what they're trying to look
anything
for?
I want to do.
Really?
But it's replacing, they're repatriating the bones and skulls and things that they've had for years, and they want to replace it with live people that are alive, their art. So,
how about your commission work, Karin?
I have a lot of repeat customers, and there's a lady in Kansas who I'm making 4 pots for now that she must have a big house because they're big pots.
Did she give you a directive, or you should just say, Karin, create what you need to create?
She actually went on my website and found ones that she liked and had me recreate ones I'd already made before, which was fine. It's nice to revisit those. I keep threatening to take like a year and just remake what I've made in the past, because this was 10 years for me.
Popular.
Yeah, this was 10 years for me this year. It's going fast, isn't it?
Are there any particular artists that any of you, both within the Native community and outside, who have influenced your style or perspective in your work?
Oh yeah, I think that as far as influences, the first thing I do in the morning after prayers is I'm constantly doing research on Japanese ceramists, metal sculptors, just whomever. Closer to home, obviously Jane and Karin, Bill, Troy, Demas, Anna Mitchell, and then if you go further out, Magdalena Odundo.
She's one of my favorites.
I just absolutely, her pots are
Orduno.
Thank you. They're very simple, but yet they speak so loud. And then Tammy Garcia, and then you go backwards to Lucy Ree, Hans Koper. I'm just, it's not that they influence me, but I look at their processes and their design work and how they develop over time, and that really, I don't think it's influenced my work, but I think it's definitely taught me different methods. Like Jane and Karin are master builders. That's one thing when I look at, like, Karin handed me one of her pieces earlier, and it's so well balanced. It just sit perfectly in my hand, and that takes years to develop. And Jane, can build like these amazing huge pots. And I use the combination of the wheel and hand building and slab building, and her work is just phenomenal. So, you can look at each artist medium and learn a lot from each one. And that's what I've tried to do, is to really soak in, not to copy or imitate, but to just definitely learn from their processes. And they've taught me a lot, not even taking the class, but just looking and feeling. And I have a funny story. We were at Red Earth one year, and I think that was my first year to do Red Earth, first or second, first with pottery. And I had a gentleman came up to my booth and he said, "That's really nice." I said, "Well, thank you so much." I think it was like my 5th pot I'd ever made. And he picked it up and goes, "But it's no Karin Walkingstick." And I just died laughing. I was like, "No, it's not. Not yet. Not yet." But no, those two really, as far as building, has been they've definitely taught me a lot. Mhm. Can't believe that. She's like, "I can't believe you said that." It was so
I
funny.
would say that.
It was hilarious.
So, I mean, there's a lot of, and as Jane said, that there's a lot of markets going on. And you're retiring from Swyatt. Do you feel it takes away some of your productive time in actually creating and doing markets, or is it something that you have to do to sell and get
I've
notarized?
always done markets.
Yeah.
And had to do markets to survive in this business. And I've always enjoyed them. I don't travel as much as I used to, and I just don't feel like doing it.
Mm-hmm.
If I can make a living staying home. And that doesn't mean I'm going to quit doing art because I'm not going to Santa Fe. But I see a big change in Santa Fe. I think it's leaning toward the younger, more innovative artists.
Mm-hmm.
And I think let them have their turn. I've done it long enough.
Do all of you sell via website, or do you have your own studios where you sell out of your studio? Besides the art markets, are you looking at other ways to?
Facebook's been one of my biggest marketing tools since COVID started. And I didn't suffer a bit during COVID because of Facebook.
Wow.
So
I've stayed busy. I haven't had anything in my website store in a couple of years. So that's how busy I've been able to stay with commissions and markets. Jane, when I was working with Jane at the very beginning, she would show me not just how to build pottery, but how to fill out an application and how to, this is what she does. So this is what, you are a little of who you learn from. So she showed me, I did my first show. I think it was Trelliture's show in Tahlequah. And we walk over and turn in competition pieces. And she showed me how to fill out the paperwork and how you write about what you've created. And it asks for a title on your pot.
We have a great title.
And so I named mine, and then I stood by and watched Jane turn in her competition piece. And they asked her what its name was. And she said, well, Abundance. Number 7. You're just running out of names. It was really kind of funny.
It's really hard to name pottery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
unless you have an idea while you're making it.
Right.
And if you're just looking at it cold, entering it in competition.
Yeah.
That's why we have Abundance 6, 7, 8.
So we laugh.
She's even started naming hers Abundance.
It's a joke. It's just it's funny to the rest of us because we all know the story. So
I think I'm going to switch to Bountiful or something.
Since your time as a woman Native American Cherokee clay artist, have you faced a lot of challenges from the outside community?
I've caught some flack because I think a lot of times when they hear that you're a Native artist, they assume that your pieces look a certain way.
Correct. Yeah.
And I've caught some comments. Well, you're not Native, or that's not Native pottery. It looks Asian, or it looks Greek. And I'm like, well, that confuses me sometimes. I have, but it's taught me to extend grace to that person, maybe, and at that point, then you can talk to them about it a little bit. It opens a door for conversation. I think there's still a glass ceiling for women artists. A lot of times they're not taking us serious. They think, well, you should be a painter, or you should, make little pots. You can't do bigger things. And so I hope that we're removing that glass ceiling and we're breaking it. For the younger generation to see that they can do things, that they're not, it's not always, I don't know, certain designs that have to be
correct.
It doesn't have to look a certain
right.
way.
Especially, I think for the non-native, they look at Native American art as a single unit instead of 574 different federally recognized tribes
Correct.
with their
Mhm.
own indicative artistry and
Mhm.
crafts.
Mm.
For the non-natives, like, everyone seems to always go to the Southwest. That's Native American.
Mhm.
No,
Mhm.
Mhm.
no, there's 573
Correct.
that are a little bit different.
Yeah.
Have you experienced that as well?
I think my only limit is myself, what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
If I can think it and do it, I don't see anything keeping me from it.
Yeah.
I mean, being in a artistic community, do you see a lot of growth in being a teacher where there's a lot of need for mentorship and programs to kind of bring forth the educational components that, since we've lost a lot of elders and they didn't continue that effort to teach,
Mhm.
do you think there's a lot of interest to the community, both in the native and non-native, to reinforce that?
Yes, we have programs at addressing that in Cherokee Nation. And my granddaughter is 23 and she started making pottery at 14 and she just started again. And I think it's important that we keep teaching,
Mm-hmm.
educating, not only to teach the art, but to teach the culture along with the art.
Hmm.
And that's what I've tried to make my last 30 some years about.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully it's helped some people. I know it's helped me. I love doing it and I love passing it on. So.
You see a lot of influx in a lot of tribes, going back to their ancestral culinary arts, and also their
Mhm.
language is being
Mhm.
reinforced, which is kind of now is the time that it's actually taking effect,
Mhm.
and hopefully it continues forward
Yeah.
also in the art
Yeah.
sector as well.
The Eastern Band, when they came back and did a class with us in 2005, Joel Queen and Tammy Bean. And one thing I took away from that meeting was, we talk about language being so important.
Mm-hmm.
Joel Queen especially said, our pottery is our visual language and it's our historian also, because it can tell us things that the passed down stories can't tell us. Where we lived, when we lived there, what we ate, our ceremonial processes. And anyway, that was one thing I took away from it, that pottery has so much to teach us about where we came from.
Absolutely, because it wasn't just an art form, it was actually art instilled into a functional use, because we use pottery to everyday life, to carry water, for food,
Right.
for containment, things like
Right.
that. So,
But I think that as a visual historian, it is real important.
do any of you get, because clay is hard to work with. I did my first class about a month ago, and I actually called Tama. I'm like, I had so much fun. I made this little thing like this big.
Who's your teacher?
I did it in Ponca. They have a little clay studio there, and we all got to sit down at the wheel, do everything. Mine became a little stump, but it was a little taller. But I enjoyed it because it's actually your creative mind. You're working with your hands, and you start to form something, and it takes a life upon its own. Because, like I said, clay is not the easiest substance to work with.
It is.
It is? Oh, maybe it wasn't for you. So, Jane, you never taken a piece of clay and thrown it at the wall and getting so mad?
No.
So, when you're all creating, is there a time where it does take a life upon itself and you kind of have to redirect?
Yeah.
They all sing.
My teacher, she used to, when it goes really well and you do it really fast and really good, she used to tell me that the ancestors were helping. And I've had a few of those occasions where I don't think I could really do that, but I did it.
Yeah. I've had pieces like that too that'll just go together so easy.
Yeah.
You're like, you can make 3 or 4 pots before that and struggle with them. And then this one just goes together, everything perfectly.
Yeah.
Does what it just.
When I hear people
guides
say that
itself.
it took them a year to make something, I thought, well, you must have had a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Because when it's going good, it happens fast.
Yeah. Is there any? I'm sure there has. It's kind of a stupid question, but no question's stupid. because of the drying effect and taking it into the kiln, and it's like a baby. I would assume that this creation that you took dedicated your time to doesn't come to life. I guess.
Yeah.
I think they're most alive when they're still wet.
Yeah.
When that transformation from the kiln, it's wonderful, but the clay is it's alive before it gets in there.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite stage, when it's completed, but not dry.
What's your favorite stage?
The leather hard stage, what she's talking about, because you can it still has a life to it. And at that point, that's my favorite part, because I can start to carve it in size. And that's my favorite stage.
That's my favorite part too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just feels so amazing. I can't even describe how it feels, but it's like cutting through frozen butter, maybe.
Okay.
Butter.
Good analogy.
I don't know, or a
it.
bar of soap. Because it's you get just enough resistance, and it just feels really good.
Are there any artists out there now that you admire that are coming up?
The coming up ones, Karin, Tama.
Oh, thank you. I like Raven Half Moon. I think she's amazing. She's really pushing the limits. Raven Half Moon. Yeah. As far as ceramists. Oh gosh. George Alexander is a painter.
Yeah.
I love his style. Love his work.
He was on the show early on in the series. Yeah.
Oh man, love it.
Kenneth Johnson's my favorite.
Johnson. Yeah.
I've known Kenneth since he was a baby.
Now Lily is working. She's mentioned Lily. Lily is going to be an amazing potter. She has, she just has it. Lily Van. We call her Schmilly, or I call her Schmilly. But and I think that would probably, for now, I can think of.
Are there new methods of creating pottery, clay art? Is there new ways that
you're new things all the time?
Yeah.
We're working, and sometimes even remember some of the old things. Why haven't I been doing that?
I worked a little bit with Richard Zane Smith, and he builds his differently. He makes studying some of the old sherds of corrugated pottery.
Was that not
I'm not sure.
I don't think it's
Southwest, but I don't know. So they generally were bigger coils. I hand coil, Jane hand coils, but they were all bigger, a little bit bigger coils. Richard's are teeny tiny. He's like a machine when he works, because he's so used to doing it. He'll just hold one up and put it on with one hand.
About this size.
Yeah, and he only smashes half the coil. And you can that kind, you can only work the inside of the pot. Because if you work the outside of the pot, you'd smash all your coils.
Right.
And that's what makes it. He did I like how he came up with that from
observing the sherds.
Yeah, and just watching the sherds and making him putting his own spin on it.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
Do all of you take risk in your craft?
I take a risk getting out of bed. And you take a risk getting me a microphone. I think that any time that you're doing something that is going to be, as an occupation, that's going to be viewed by the masses, you're taking a risk, because, you'll get comments of, well, I can do that.
Right.
My aunt Susan does that. Things like that. And you're like, well, that's wonderful. But I think that you take that risk, because you're putting your emotions into a solid form. With ceramics or stainless or glass or whatever.
What is your advice for them if they want to get started?
In clay. Just work at it, experience, take some classes, go to some shows.
Be humble and don't be afraid to ask questions. I ask to this day. I'll bug Karin or Jane or Bill. I'll call Bill all the time, and ask questions, or Troy, and do research on your own. YouTube. That's how I learned to throw. YouTube. And I took Bill's class and I went in through a pot. He's like, how'd you learn how to do that? I said, YouTube. But, and have patience with yourself. You know, it's a process. It's, you know, every day I learn something. Every day. I'll never quit learning. Ceramics does not tolerate haste.
I even call Karin and ask her advice now and then.
Yeah. I don't think
the
you
mentor becomes the teacher.
I don't think you ever stop learning.
No.
And you know, just trying different things. You know, I have a pot that I've been making that's it's got a flat shoulder to it. I was just in my studio working one day, and a fly was flying around, and I was like, I don't care where this thing landed, I'm getting it, and it's been bothering me for a long time, so it's got to die. So I smacked it. It landed on my pot. I hit it, and I was building this pot, so it was really wet, and that clay just laid over. And I thought, well, I'll fix that here in a little bit. And I stood there, took a break, and I came back and I looked at it. I was like, I think I can do something with that. So I left it flat, and I built a flat shoulder. And now I do a lot of pots like that. So it
with dead flies in them.
I killed a fly on every pot I have.
The safety pin in the pot.
Oh yeah, I like to wear sweaters like a apron, and so I don't have buttons on my sweaters or anything. So I can, if I had to set the pot in my lap, it doesn't scratch it or anything. So, but sometimes I get cold and I want to close my sweater, so I use the safety pin up high, and that safety pin had made it into my clay somehow and into my pot, and I built the pot and had the safety pin in it. Weird stuff happens in the studio.
Is there anything that you want to achieve? I mean, you've all dedicated most of your artistic endeavors into clay. Is there anything else you want to try your hand at?
I'm wanting to concentrate more on sculpture than pots. That's what I'm doing lately.
I think we've all kind of got that bug a little bit. Tama's got one going that's bigger than she is.
You know, I've always, you know, working with Demas and in all of his work. And, you know, one thing he's taught me is just don't have any fear. And so I designed a sculpture. It's 11 foot tall, and it should be done next week. It's stainless. And so, yeah, I'm wanting to do more public art. I do weld a little bit, but not to that caliber. So I have a wonderful fabrication team that I send a design. We sit down, we work together. And so, yeah, I'm going to continue to work with stainless and clay. And now I'm going to incorporate some stainless with the ceramic and glass. Barbara Weaver and I are working on together with that. I think that ceramic needs to be viewed as the foundation for different art forms. I think everybody, when you hear ceramics, you think of a teacup. You know, like, well, well, it can be so much more. And I'm with Jane and Karin on that. We want to do more sculpture, you know, aspect, more public art, because a lot of people don't even get to go to the shows or get exposed to the art markets or able to go to galleries. So when you have a piece of public art, you know, you have kids that come and look, and hopefully it will spark something in them. And being a woman, a lot of times they're like, well, women don't weld. Well, you're going to see, now you're seeing more and more fabricators that are female. And I think we just, like I said, you just got to keep pushing, doing that, you know, pushing it, try new things. Don't be afraid to try new things, you know? So yeah, in short, go big or go home.
There you go. What's next? What's next for all of you? I mean, you're all going to be at Cherokee Art Market come October 14th and 15th, correct?
14th, 15th, I'm booth 152. Karin you're right behind me, right?
I don't remember.
I'm in 134.
155, I think.
Yeah.
And we'll be missing two of our best buddies this year, Ben Harjo Jr.
and Lambert Wilson.
Ben has been in my life for 30-some years, and he passed away in May. And Lambert Wilson, he was one of our biggest collectors, and he passed away last October. So we'll be missing them.
And what's after Cherokee Art Market? Rest?
No.
There's a
Oh,
Christmas show at the Winter
First-
Holiday Art Market.
First
Oh, they
thing.
call it WHAM,
They
Winter
call it
Holiday
Wham.
They
Art
call it
Market.
Wham?
WHAM at FAM, First
Wham at
Americans
FAM.
Museum in
Ah.
Oklahoma City.
When is that? I can't remember.
It's December. I think it's toward the first or second weekend. I think maybe in
Third and fourth.
Third,
Maybe.
yeah.
maybe.
I'm thinking that the following weekend I'm supposed to be going to New York, but I don't know for sure. I haven't heard back yet. So we'll see.
For
It's the NMAI Smithsonian show.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah,
did you apply for that?
I did.
The booth's $1,200 starting.
I don't care. I'm gonna start. I think I'm gonna start donating plasma.
Plasma, blood, hair.
Are you kidding me? I wouldn't take it if I
for
were
the
you.
booth.
Really?
Yeah, it's expensive, but you know, I went to Washington and did it one year, and I think my work now is better fit in New York. The people were amazing. Loved. It's just a matter of getting there, and that's one thing a lot of people don't see is we put the
2 days
majority.
travel.
Yeah, the travel, the
Mhm.
financial. Not only that is, just to go,
Right.
just to be able to get out the door.
Mhm.
You've already got all that expense and
Months ahead.
months ahead.
Yeah.
And so the Cherokee Nation is helping with that now with the Artist Recovery Act, which is great. We're thankful for.
Be great when it goes through.
Once it starts working, we're going to be really happy. But the concept is good. But if I can say one thing, I think that the true measure of a civilization is how they treat their art and their artists. And language
true.
is important, but I think that if you are treated as a substandard class, when you we've got to dispel that starving
Mhm.
artist
Mhm.
view. We need to be a little bit more revered, and maybe that's the new artist coming out in me. But
Right.
from what I'm seeing is just from a business perspective, being in business my whole life. When you look at different aspects of this, I think that's respect is not always given, especially, like Jane, she doesn't need to be traveling without assistance. We need to assign somebody with her. Besides Lily, we love Lily. Lily's the best chef in the world, but to help her to do these things, to travel and go. But we're getting there. You're seeing it's getting there with the Artist Recovery Act. And I think
Well, it's good. It's important to have that support. But again,
Absolutely.
as you're artists, but you're also self-business people because what
Mhm.
you do is what you have to
Mhm.
sell.
Mhm.
So investing in yourself, I think, is important, and you got to really push yourselves out there and move forward. And congratulations to you to doing it. It's a
Oh.
huge step.
I'm trying.
Call you afterwards.
Yeah. So I'm out of cigarettes and Dr. Pepper, but it's all good though.
Karen and I may be going to Baltimore or Westminster, Maryland
What's there?
next year. Common Ground on the Hill.
Mhm.
We did it 10 years ago.
Yeah, and anyway, Anita Fields and her son did it a couple of
Mhm.
years ago, but it's really a neat place.
It's like an adult summer camp. And
In our dorm, we had people from
For artists.
Scotland, Ukraine, all kinds of
Yes.
places.
yeah,
Wow.
and they were great.
Yeah.
And their jam sessions at 2 a.m.
All night
were
long.
interesting. Yeah, co-ed dorms.
Anyway,
we
we're
met a lot.
both teaching if we go.
Yeah,
We're both teaching pottery there this next.
it's in Westminster,
Yeah.
Maryland. It's called Common Ground on the Hill, and it is like it's not just adults. There were kids there. They were having like a basketball camp.
Artists
all
from
the-
all over the world.
They're
Pro football
musical
players there helping kids.
They
Yeah.
had. It was just about anything
Yeah.
talent you could.
Uh-huh.
Well, congratulations to all of you and pushing yourselves forward and doing something so unique. Do each of you think you have? Is there a Tama Roberts signature? Is there a Karin Walkingstick signature and Jane Osti signature that someone says, "Oh, it's identifiable as"?
I think we're all identifiable.
Yeah. I don't think you can
Mm.
really
Yeah.
help it.
I would know your work, and
Yeah, you just kind of have a
Yeah,
style.
I think you just you can't help but have that because you're influenced by your personal stories and
Mhm.
everything that comes out. So yeah, I think that it's like you can see you definitely know Karen's and you definitely know James when you see him. So yeah, I would.
when I teach classes, their pottery might look like mine in the
Mhm.
beginning, but after a year, I would say Karen's didn't look anything like mine.
Yeah, you want to develop your
Because she
own.
really wanted to develop her own.
Yeah, and then you
she
have
did.
ideas, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
your ideas aren't the same, and
So it
you just
wouldn't be any
kinda-
fun going and say, oh, that looks like James. Yeah. A lot of artists will settle for that, but Karen, not Karen.
Right.
yeah, I've had people ask me before. I've had a full booth. I set up at the Herd in Phoenix, and I had all my pine smoke pottery on one side, and I had put all my painted stuff on the other side. And I was joking, saying this was my day job and this was my after midnight stuff. Well, they'd say, "How many artists are represented here?" I'm like, me, myself, I, and all of our personalities.
When do you guys have downtime? I mean, if you're continuing to produce and create, is there a season or a specific time that you take off 1 or 2 months? Jane's like, no, never.
Never.
Constantly
We
going.
still haven't made it to the creek
If
yet.
I don't
I
work-
know. We've been trying to go to the creek for a year.
If I don't work every day, I feel guilty, and I get in a bad mood too, because if something's keeping me from working, it's in my way.
Yeah.
So one of the aspects I want to bring up is Jane's obviously a national treasure.
Mm.
How does that feel?
I don't know that I feel any different. I mean, I am.
Like velvet.
Well, let me ask.
I'm honored that they bestowed that.
What signifies
title.
to become a national treasure with the Cherokee Nation?
Well, you must be a contributor to the community, and your work. Well, let's see. When we are making new treasures, we look at their contribution to the community. Is their work culturally relevant? And then we look at the work itself when we're selecting treasures. So those three things in mind.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations to you. Well deserved.
I think that was in 2005. It's been a long time ago. And you must have worked at least 10 years at your craft.
Okay.
Used to be 20 years, and I don't know if it's good that we shortened it or not, because a lot of people are getting it when they're really young, and they really haven't made a very big contribution yet. And some people want it before they've done 10 years.
Right.
We've had some little conflicts about that, but anyway. Well, when I was selected, it was a surprise. Nobody told you. Nobody, you had no idea.
And it's an annual thing, correct?
And now, I shouldn't say this, not the right time to bring it up. Some people are actively campaigning to be a national treasure, and that's not how it started. In the old days, someone noticed your contribution, and now it's almost, it's turned into a different thing.
Almost a competition, somewhat.
Some kind of.
Yeah. Well, people are campaigning.
People are asking other people, make me a treasure, nominate me. And that's really different than the way it used to be.
Right.
It used to be someone noticed that you were doing something.
It should still be that way.
Yeah.
I think it should still be that way.
I do too.
Because if you've just got your head down and you're just working and you're doing your thing and somebody notices that seems like it would mean more.
And people are actively campaigning for it now.
It should be an honor, not something that you try to achieve. Your work should speak for itself.
Yeah.
Since most artists in the whole spectrum work for themselves and they work alone, do you think there's an important factor in creating a maker studio, at least tribal maker studio, so people can collectively come together? And
I think for the younger people, that would be great. I actually don't work well. I've worked in large studio, like in Santa Fe Clay. And my granddaughter's working in my studio right now. And I'm working on a sculpture. And it's so personal to me when I'm working. I can't work on it when she's there. I have to wait till she leaves.
Really?
And I wouldn't do well in a maker studio. I have done before, and I really liked it because you do get influenced and inspired by other people's work. But when I'm doing serious work, I have to be alone.
I think the same way.
Yeah. Do you?
Yeah. But yeah, I've taught classes before where I planned on building across from someone, and I'll stop and just help them because it is.
Yeah, I can demonstrate, but I can't really truly make a piece that's worth anything.
Yeah.
When I'm commingling with a lot of other people.
Yeah, I'd just be down the hall talking.
I think it's important to have a makerspace. Like I said, I worked on a team with Bill and Demas, and that was the highlight of besides being a mom, obviously, but as far as my artistic career, working with them and collaborating, it is invaluable. You can't put any price on any of that. Learning from another artist, and I think that when you get together with a group, you're going to, the ideas just explode. Just start, and then also as a mentor, being able to teach the youth, like Jane taught Karin, how not only how to work in the medium, but to fill out applications, go to shows, market yourself, all the things that need to be done, because unfortunately it has been viewed as not a necessity or not a way to make a living. Like Bill and Tracy Rappert, they've done a great job with how, Bill did what he did and Tracy carried it forward. That should be the norm, and so a makerspace not only is going to teach them how to create, develop, and market, and that's important. And then they need to learn how to be sustainable, to repeat it. And I think a makerspace would do that. And we have to look at it from an economic standpoint, is that we're teaching the younger generation a way to make a living creatively.
Correct. And I also think it also promotes and continues the culturally significant and legacy of
completely agree
that tribal heritage, be it Cherokee, be it Delaware, Mohawk, or whatever, the three tribes I'm affiliated to. Because you're losing a component, especially with elders, even though things are written, you need the firsthand experience in creating that, where you taught Karin, when you have more of a collective, you're creating that cultural significance of that tribe and how important their heritage is.
If you think back, society has become more insular and bubbled,
yeah.
But yet we're still in constant communication. So our ancestors in the tribal living, they were in a group setting. They weren't like texting over there, the Jim Bob sitting over there. They were actually together and sharing that, and it was handed down or pushed forward. And I think we've lost that aspect. And I think a makerspace could possibly bring that back.
I can see working with other people if they have their studio there and I have mine there.
You have your black curtain.
Well, and Jane's right, because it is personal. Yeah. I think working and getting the idea is great, and then I have to go home, like you say, when you're working on something significant and have your little space.
Right.
I think you have to like a Tulsa Fab Lab, something like that, where you go, or Wampa, and you go and you have your space to collaborate, to teach, and then you go to your room and and create. I think that definitely.
Even when I was in college taking art, I would work during the whole class. But afterwards is when I did the work that was important after the class.
In what ways do you envision your art contributing to a broader understanding and appreciation of Native American culture, both within and outside the community? It's a big question.
It's a long question. Well, say that again.
In what ways do you envision your art contributing to a broader understanding and appreciation of Native American culture, both within and outside the community? Do you think, as artists, not you independently are getting the recognition, but Native American artists are actually being recognized as true artists not someone that's just creating a craft to sell on the roadside or an art market, that you're actually being recognized as an artist, both within the Native American community, but on a national, global spectrum, that Native American art is actually looking at.
I think we are. And I think our work could cross that boundary of being Native American and mainstream. I believe that galleries might look at our work other than Native American galleries or collectors. But
The time is now.
I think I answered 1/3 of that question.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it pertains to the ebb and flow. Indigenous Native American art has had an ebb and flow where it becomes a thing, then it goes down, then it goes up. And I think it's always, in essence, looked at as a craft, not so much an art form. And do you think it now, with the significance of so much happening nationally with recognition of Native American art, that we're getting our time that's going to be long sustained?
When I first started entering pottery, the 5 civilized tribes in Muskogee, pottery was not entered as pottery. It was entered as a cabin craft.
Really?
And I never
knew
did
that.
do the show again. And they did finally change it. But the Trail of Tears show in Tahlequah, it's been going on 40-something years. And in the year 2000, I believe, Bill Glass and Mike Daniel complained loudly because they only allowed painting and sculpture. They didn't consider pottery an art. Anyway, Bill Glass and Mike Daniels, I believe, changed that to where pottery and other art forms could be entered in our very own Cherokee art shop. They only allowed European art, or painting and sculpture.
Right. Interesting.
That hasn't been that long ago that was changed.
Wow. I didn't know that.
I think it was used just so much as a utilitarian.
Right. Or not really an art form.
But when you had an abundance, you could sit around and
exactly
make your pots pretty.
Well, that's the thing is, when you look back at civilizations and it went from the designs on the pottery, or the usage went from a little rough and, we're going to cook with this pot, to one that was an adornment or, a burial vessel, things like that. And I think that's a measure of the civilization.
What's interesting to me with our Southeast designs, when I first started doing them 40 years ago, so Anna Mitchell was doing it, and Nagofti Scott, a shell carver, and Bill Glass. Pretty much the only ones in our community that was doing the Southeast designs. Now you see it in paintings, you see it in sculpture, you see it everywhere now. Everybody's using those designs. And there were only just a few of us doing that a long time ago.
I'd love to get Bill and Demas both on the show together.
They're amazing.
Well, ladies, is there anything else you want to add or share or promote and tell us about?
Cherokee Art Market. Come see us.
October 14th and 15th at the Hard Rock Hotel in Catoosa.
Yeah.
I have an exhibit going on right now.
Yeah.
And with Chickasaw Nation in Sulphur, Oklahoma, at their artisan galleries.
Okay.
There's goes through November. I'm not sure what the date is when it ends, but it's called Earth and Stain, and it's myself, Dylan Cavan, and Karen Berry.
Fantastic. How about you, Jane?
I have an exhibit at the Anna Mitchell Cultural Center in Bonita that will be up until sometimes in October. It's called A Legacy of Her Own. They first exhibited Anna's pottery and then mine. And I guess they were trying to say that I now have a legacy. But I told them the day they opened it, I think what's important, my legacy, is the students that have continued. My pottery is one thing, but if I hadn't taught someone else and it continued, I don't think that would be much of a legacy.
True. Good point.
We've got Lily coming too.
Yeah.
She's working.
And what else is next? You mentioned New York.
I'm finishing sculpture next week. That should be placed at the Cultural Pathway in Tahlequah between the Spider Gallery and the Cherokee Art Center. And then I'm working with a company called, you might have heard of them, Amatoya.
Yes, kind of.
Yeah. So hoping to get more involved in the furniture design side.
Could you see?
Oh, you will.
I love it. I love it. I know. Yeah. Just trying to keep that boat afloat.
And you two ladies, what's next? What else you want to share?
I'm just making sculpture right now.
Bronzes. Well, we're going to hope to
Yeah.
get Jane's bronze finished.
Well, I'm making one now that's just about 23 or 24 inches tall.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had little trouble getting some bronze work done, so I think I'll just fire it and have it clay.
Hmm.
I have a corn woman that's 5 foot 5 inches tall that I made. It was a year last November,
Mhm.
going on 2 years. And we were able to save the clay version, and the bronze version is in progress. Well, it's being done
It's being done.
eventually.
It takes time. Art takes time. Well, this has been thoroughly enjoyable for me. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves.
Yes,
It
thank
wasn't
you
too
for-
bad.
It was fun.
It's
Oh,
fun.
good, good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming today. Thoroughly appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.